Timeism and why empires die. Excluding catastrophic natural causes or military conquest, empires consistently die because they run out of time. All the social, economic, and political reasons given for empires expiring can be unified by their timistic commonality. Among the many empires that have come and gone were the Roman, Ottoman, British, and Soviet empires. Democracy either did not exist or declined over the years. What is democracy but a time-saving process by which people can solve their common problems which waste their time? If a population has optimal democracy, then it has the ultimate form of human productivity. The biggest time-wasting public problems are solved by the best problem solvers in the most efficient and least expensive way. Is the world's only empire at the beginning of the third millennium experiencing increased or decreased democracy? America's democracy suffered a severe blow when the U.S. Supreme Court usurped the constitutional duty of the U.S. Congress. America's democracy has repeatedly suffered a more primary problem. Long before the first primary vote was cast in the year 2000, both of the major party candidates had been anointed princes of their parties. Both were not only habitual politicians, but their daddies were habitual politicians, which means they were sons of habitual politicians. Does a nation have optimal democracy when it suffers habitual or hereditary politicians? America is dying because we don't have optimal democracy. Rome created its empire as a democracy. With Octavius, the first emperor, Rome's empire became static before it began to decline and fall. Britain has had a limited democracy while its empire lands never were given a taste of democracy. The American empire will dynasty from political dynasty. The world's first empire to be built upon democracy died as businessmen gained control of government and used it for protecting and expanding foreign business interests. Greece, the cradle of democracy, lost its dominance when its general, Pyrrhus, pursued foreign wars with expensive elephants, latest military development. He won the battle but lost the future of Greece, a Pyrrhic victory. America's empire cannot last if its leaders waste expensive military might on inconsequential battles that benefit only its businessmen. Many know that the cause for the decline of democracy in America is money, but few recognize the time commonality. A dollar analysis shows that if you have the entry fee for state politics, you receive $500 to $1,000 for each bribing dollar. A dollar analysis shows that if you have the entry fee, $50,000 for federal politicians, you receive $2,500 to $5,000 for each corrupting dollar. If you recognize that time is money, and money is time, then you should realize that the politicians solving the problems of campaign contributors are not solving the problems of America. A Congress for sale is a Congress that is using the public problem-solving system to solve the private time-wasting problems of their campaign contributors. The so-called death tax was paid by only 1% to 2% of the population. The no-death tax will save America's rich $1.4 trillion. The other 98% of Americans will have to spend more work time paying these missing taxes. It is not democracy when the president pushes a law that is a living tax on the American middle class that will not only tax the working class to death but make their estates $1.4 trillion smaller. We can either have a death tax on the rich or a living tax on the non-rich. Simultaneous with the loss of optimal democracy and the rise of unfair taxation is the development of an economic system in which wealth comes from symbols of work rather than the substance of work. In America during the 1990s, millions of people sought unachievable wealth on a part-time or full-time basis by becoming paper players. Using 401k plans, these suckers played into the excessive stock options of the corporate CEOs. Between the workers and the executives playing with symbols, the substance of solving America's problems began to melt down faster. The lottery is a tax on those poor who don't know math. Wall Street is a lottery on the middle class who don't know math. As people swell by the wealth from symbols, they swell less and less for the substance of solving problems to create wealth. Can an empire last if a growing percentage of the population forms kitchen clutches to invest for wealth instead of volunteering in schools, nurseries, or hospitals? People who seek wealth from symbols rather than substance usually don't take the time to inspect plastic politicians to see what substance is behind the symbols spun by handlers. Empires built on substance cannot float forever under the weight of empty, worthless symbols. As an empire's population increasingly seeks wealth from symbols rather than the substance of solving time-wasting problems, the production of goods and services shifts from essential to non-essential. The wants of the rich monopolize the time of more and more people, because the paper players have the symbols of wealth. The needs of the many are increasingly ignored: housing, education, safety, and retirement. An empire cannot last as more and more people lack the basic necessities of life because of the non-essential wants of the rich. An empire is a body of human activity. If one part increases its consumption of wealth, time, without producing more time, then that one part is consuming the time produced by the other parts of the body. This is the definition of a cancer. Cancerous bodies or empires run out of time as democracy disappears, as symbols are pursued, and as essentials are ignored. The American empire, responsible for global capitalism, is suffering from the multi-myopic cancer which most people cannot or will not see. Without an end to our economic and political cancers, the American empire will go the way of all cancerous systems. As democracy is not the problem, so is capitalism not the problem. The problem is the failure of political and economic leaders to be democratic and capitalistic. A great summary of the impact from decreased democracy, decreased substance, decreased essentials, and increased privileges is the vast shift of wealth in America to the richest 1% of the population. In less than 20 years out of a history of 200 years, the richest 1% increased ownership of America from 20 to 50%. This means lower employment, health care, safety, and retirement for the other 99%. The American empire is suffering an existential meltdown. All of its problem-solving systems are suffering a cancerous collapse in the face of increasing problems. Less time is being saved because there are fewer and lesser problem solvers. The American empire is running out of time.